partner of the NCAA. Visit fairfield.marriott.com to book your next game day stay.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. 120,000 miles of night drives, daily commutes, and who knows how many.
Are we there yet?
Through countless fixes, elbow grease, and a new radiator, you kept your ride alive. With eBay Motors, you have over 122 million parts to keep it running. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, they'll be the perfect fit every time. Plus, at these prices, well, we're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
As the weather gets colder, the NFL offers Stay Hot on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/win and kick off the NFL season. That's FanDuel.com/win. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
Must be 21 plus and present state where lawful to wager. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino LLC. First online real money wager only $5 pregame money line wager required. First online real money wager only $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit FanDuel.com/RG in Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Virginia. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342 in Arizona, 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana, 1-800-522-4700 visit ksgamblinghelp.com in Kansas. 1-877-770-STOP in Louisiana. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net in West Virginia or call 1-800-522-4700 in Wyoming. Help is here. Visit gamblinghelpma.org or call 1-800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.
This is for the men who never settle, the ones who believe only quitters end a game in a tie, the type of guys who choose the bar with the biggest TVs to overcompensate for theirs at home. This is the Lodge mentality. This is Twin Peaks.
Are you a fan of Twin Peaks? Sign up for our e-club to stay up to date on all things Twin Peaks and score free stuff. Signing up is easy. Just visit twinpeaksrestaurant.com/peaks-club to sign up today. Twin Peaks, eats, drinks, scenic views.
Pro Paint Days are back for MVP's Pro Rewards members at Lowe's. Now through December 15th, you can earn 10% back in paint rewards via Lowe's e-gift card when you spend $100 or more on qualifying paint purchases. Plus, save $10 on a new and exclusive 5-gallon pail of HGTV Home by Sherwin-Williams Drywall PVA Primer and Sealer. Lowe's knows paint. Lowe's knows pros. Offers valid 12/4 through 12/15. Exclusions, restrictions, and more terms apply. See Lowe's.com/L/pro loyalty terms. Subject to change.
Thanks for calling Discover. This is Anjali.
Hi, it's Jennifer Coolidge. I just got an alert for a strange charge on my card.
No problem. We make sure you're never held responsible for unauthorized purchases on your Discover card. Let's see. Did you purchase something from a t-shirt cannon store yesterday?
Absolutely not. No, I already have like 3.
$0 fraud liability guarantee. It pays to Discover. Learn more at discover.com/creditcard. Limitations apply.
You're listening to 610 Sports Radio from the Max Motors Studios. Subscribe to the 610 Sports KC YouTube page for exclusive video content from Cody and Gold on your official broadcast partner of the Chiefs and your home for Royals baseball. 610 Sports Radio. SB Kansas City. WDAF HD2 Liberty. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Join us on Friday, January 12th out at Cinder Block Brewery. It's our Playoff Pilsner beer release. Starts at 6 o'clock. 3rd annual Playoff Pilsner release. Dusty's going to be broadcasting live starting at 6. The entire 610 crew is going to be hanging out. We're going to have a food truck out there. It's going to be a ton of fun. These have been packed events. The first 2 years we've done it, we expected the same. Again, Friday, January the 12th. So just under a month away from our 3rd annual Playoff Pilsner release. Drew, it'll be the first one you go to. We always have a good time with this. Good beer.
Will be.
A lot of Chiefs fans, of course, fired up. At that point, it's right before the playoffs start. And in this case, it might even be the night before a playoff game if the Chiefs have to play wild card weekend, if they do. So it's going to be a good time.
Yeah, always a great time out at Cinder Block. No reason not to be out there. And if for some reason you've missed it each of these last couple of years, good news. Because we're doing it again. That means you get another chance for the Playoff Pilsner.
We'll get to the trash of the day here in about 15 minutes or so. But you mentioned one thing in particular, and no, it's not just, if they would have signed DeAndre Hopkins. One thing in particular, if the Chiefs were doing a little bit more, that all of a sudden we'd be feeling way differently in the position that they would be in the AFC picture.
Yeah, pretty simply put, if they had just scored 24 points or more.
Okay, so if they scored more points than their opponents, they would be better.
It's not quite that simple because that'd be the adage. If the Chiefs just scored more than their opponents, they'd be undefeated.
Turns out that's usually
accurate. accurate. What's crazy about this is in every single year of their existence, they have been almost a full touchdown better than 24 points a game, which if they were averaging, they would have a single loss. One. They'd be the 1 seed. They'd be firmly in control based on the way this is. 24 points. That's 6 points worse than they were last year. They can be a touchdown worse than they were last year and go on to win every game the rest of the way. Can they not get back to that? They're not a 10, 15% chance they can be back to a 24-point per game offense? Or are we just done there?
It's week 15, man. Like,
I know.
If it was week 5, I'd say, yeah, of course. But they kind of are what they are. You know, they're going to have a great defense. They're going to struggle at times on offense. Because I understand why the team continues to say it, but you know, that, hey, you know, we're just got to clean up some things, and if we don't do this wrong, then we'll be good. They're not wrong. That's true, but, like, why do this is why in the playoffs you still do not want to play the Chiefs, no matter what their record is, no matter what their seed is, because it sounds so simple. All it takes is one game where they don't have turnovers and they're not penalized, and suddenly you're like, this Mahomes is coming into our building in a divisional round game, and they still are healthy with Mahomes and Kelsey. Oh, and they have Andy Reid, and this is the one game where they played a clean game of football. We're screwed. And
well, they can beat anybody. They can beat the 49ers. They play a clean game of football.
Absolutely. So but
they could make one or two mistakes and still score 24. This can't make the 4 or 5 they're making every game.
Yeah, see, I would disagree. They, to me, almost have to play perfect football right now to get that. They can't overcome the extra turnover. I mean, the Packers game is the example of that. That one interception, as much as we want to talk about the PI non-call, the one interception Mahomes threw, that was the game at that point, as far as I'm concerned. That was the one mistake. They could not overcome that. They were driving down the field, midfield, 5 minutes to go against the Packers. One mistake in the entire game from Mahomes and Sky Moore, and they can't overcome it. That's the issue. I think they have to almost play flawless football because they don't have the big play threat and because they don't have the wide receivers. And so, yeah, like they're seemingly easy fixes, and it's why I still think this team's going to win at least 2 playoff games and end up in the AFC title game. Whether they win it, I don't know. Before the season started, by the way, I had them losing in the AFC title game. Not for these reasons, but just did. And that's very plausible, but they're still extremely dangerous because of what the talent is from the most important position, quarterback, the knowledge at coach. You have the best tight end in football still. All of that is still in play, and their defense is great. But it's just hard for me to be like, well, they'd be 12-1 if they scored more than 24 in every game. Well, yeah, but it's December 14th, man.
It's just such a low figure ask to get over that number. And I disagree. I don't think that it's usually one that gets them. You're right. That one was the one that sealed the coffin. The multiple red zone mistakes before that, and the holding calls that ended drives before that against Green Bay that also lead into the why you can't make one pick late in the game and still win it. That's what it was against multiple teams where the failed, we're trading field goals instead of getting touchdowns against Green Bay or blown cut. Like, it's the mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake that has made it so in those late game scenarios, the one little small holding penalty on the final drive is the absolute crushing backbreaker of the ending, right? To me, it's just if they can solve even half of it, I'm not so sure they can't get to 24 points a game. But I also think that there's one thing that could help them get there too. And that's what they did last week, where they finally are starting to use the wide receivers more in line with what their talent is. Rashee Rice the most, Kadarius Toney and Justin Watson. And then, make them limited preferred opportunities for the players outside of that. Be very careful with how and when you use MVS and Sky Moore, and probably realistically flip Richie James with one of those other two. Richie James doesn't need 40 snaps all of a sudden, but if Sky Moore and MVS are getting 22 and 23 respectively, and Richie James went from 6 to 14, well, he can go from 14 to 22, and one of those other two guys can go to 14 for a little bit. That does give me at least a little bit of optimism that maybe there is some adjustment in the points per game. Because, that's all it takes defensively. It's crazy. It's crazy that we can't count on the Chiefs to score 24 points.
I hear you, but again, this conversation to me is way more valid in September. There's more hope. It's at some point this is who they are. They're an 8-win football team that's still probably going to win 11 or 12 games. I think 12. And
hope so.
They're going to be still one of the top 2 seeds. Yeah, that's what's crazy. Their preseason win total was 11.5. They lost to the Lions. It dipped down to 10.5, and you could hop on that. And now they're going to be right. They're going to be right in there, and they have to win out to get to 12. They could go 3-1 and still get you the 11. But that's where they're at.
I told you that's, based on their schedule, there's no reason to think that you're still not going to get there. But also, I don't know, based on the way this team's played, can you really feel all that confident that that's the case? And that's really where this, the question lies.
We'll get to the trash of the day here in 10 minutes or so. But I thought something that's happening over in the Virginia, D.C., Maryland area relates to, they call it the DMV up there. But the area there is impacting or could at least give us a glimpse of what could happen here in Kansas City from a stadium perspective. I should say it's a glimpse. It's not impacting. It has no impact on Kansas City. But it tells us the scenarios that we've discussed here for the stadium projects for the Chiefs and the Royals and how something could go down. So for those that aren't familiar, in D.C., the news this week is that the Washington Wizards and the Washington Capitals, right, NBA and NHL team, they right now share an arena in downtown Washington, D.C., okay? And all of a sudden, seemingly out of nowhere, there was an announcement from the governor of Virginia and other parties involved that we're prepared to have a $2 billion arena and sports district for you. And we'll have a press conference tomorrow at 12:30. And everybody's like, whoa, back up. Then quickly that night, the mayor of D.C. came out and was like, oh, I can get $500 million in funding for renovation. Like, came out of nowhere. Like, oh, I can get you $500 million. The press conference happened yesterday. The team is moving to D.C. Now, I bring this up because we've always discussed, like, you never know. This is why, like, the wait in how long it's been taking for Jackson County to figure out what they want to do with the Royals and then potentially the Chiefs, like, there's always that chance. I'm not telling you we're going to wake up tomorrow and that suddenly there's going to be a project in Kansas on the Kansas side for the Chiefs. But it's just a reminder, like, how quickly it can happen. Nobody in the D.C. area had any idea, and we're even talking about stadiums here, but over there, they weren't even considering it.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, they wake up one day and, no, the team is moving.
And then the guy from Virginia is like, I'll give you $2 billion. He's like, whoa.
Yeah, Governor Youngkin or whatever. So, like, that
this is the Kansas-Missouri side argument.
Yeah, and so, and there's plenty of people. It started,
by the way. There's been, those whispers have already begun.
Yeah, and so, like, there's nothing that prevents suddenly tomorrow Laura Kelly saying, oh, by the way, we'll give you $2 billion and we'll hold a press conference today. We got a deal in place. We're good to go. Like, I'm not saying that's happening, but it's just a reminder that that exact same thing did just happen in D.C. And people are upset there the same way people are upset here when we even bring it up about, like, oh, Missouri, you can't go to Kansas and all. That same thing is happening there. It's funny how similar the situation is because up there are folks that live in D.C. that are like, oh, I'm not going to go root for this team anymore. They're moving to Virginia. It's the same thing. Like we see plenty.
Oh, yeah. They're moving to Kansas.
They're moving to Kansas. I'm not supporting the Chiefs anymore if that happens. Same thing's happening there. Well, I'm not supporting the Capitals because they're moving to Virginia. I was talking to our boss Speck about that because he's a D.C. guy and he's upset.
He's a Capitals fan.
He's pissed. He's like, he doesn't like the state of Virginia. It's the same thing. Now, they're only moving 3.5 miles away. That's literally the difference. Now, he said 3.5 miles in D.C. in that area is much different than 3.5 miles here, but still, that's
like 3.5 miles. That's just like down Metcalf a little bit.
But 3.5 miles is all they're moving from downtown DC to northern Virginia. But that exact scenario was really interesting to me because it's kind of what we've discussed.
They just did it under the cover of darkness, which is the fear I have for this Royal Stadium thing, and it's why I won't rule out. You and I both still think that the Royals are ending up downtown.
I do.
I really do. I definitely still think that. But do I rule out the possibility of all of a sudden be like, hey, the Royals are meeting today at noon and he'll be there as well? You're like, uh-oh. Because when they do this, they know sometimes the popularity or the lack of popularity in moving a team from where its preferred destination is to a different destination. The same as the Chiefs would not spend weeks and weeks and weeks telling you they're going to Kansas. All of a sudden, they would just host a press conference and they'd be in Kansas now. I assume Kansas will try this, by the way. Kansas, the state, should be looking exactly at what that mayor did and be trying to do the same thing. The governor, sorry. Yeah. And trying to do the same thing and be like, hey, just real quick, we'll give you $2 billion. I'll just let you know now. I got a bill ready to go, ready for the people of Kansas to sign off on it. I got your $2 billion because that's how you steal them. You don't steal them by offering them the same deal they're asking for, the sales tax increase. You steal them by offering them such a good deal that they can't resist.
And look, I live on the Kansas side, but my preference still is for both teams to just stay in Missouri. I'm fine. Like, it's not like I'm like, oh my God, I want to steal them away from Missouri. Like, if they move to Kansas side, great. I would have no problem. I told you voting.
Would you take a victory lap? Would that be like we got you? Is it a Kansas-Missouri border war situation where you're like, still your team, you jerks?
I don't think it'd be
all root for the same thing.
Right. I don't think it'd be a victory lap, but I've heard my entire life how many people in Missouri will make the comment like, well, they're the Kansas City, Missouri Chiefs and all that. Like, who gives a damn?
Have people really made that? I've never been around a single person who's made that comment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. People say it's Missouri's
Frankly,
team.
it sounds made up.
No, it's not. No, absolutely it's a thing. 100% it's a thing. So, no, I wouldn't take a victory lap. I would be very happy if they were in Kansas, but I still am totally fine with the Chiefs staying at the Truman Sports Complex and the Royals going downtown. That's what I totally prefer.
Your rent would hypothetically go up.
They're not building it. They're not building it.
Where were they built? Would they build it? You think they'd just be out by Legends again?
I mean,
we're putting everything out there now.
Yeah, I think it'd be the Legends if they were to do anything. I mean, way south. There's definitely some opportunity, but I don't know if they would go that far south. They probably would go to the Legends.
Other teams have.
I understand. Yeah.
And again, everybody, if you're a Chiefs season ticket holder, I'm sure they'd make the drive and all that stuff that comes in there.
See, the text line says, I'm from Missouri. It's definitely a Missouri team. See, that's fine, but like someone else says 100%.
It's just a Kansas City team in my mind, right?
No, it is.
If you live on the Kansas City side of either state line, it's your squad.
It is, but I absolutely have heard plenty of people puff out their chest on the Missouri side and be like, "No, this is Missouri. That team is playing in Missouri. That's Missouri. You're just hanging on for our coat, our coat strings or whatever." Plenty of that. So that absolutely has been said, and that's where the rivalry comes in.
I mean, because I've lived on the Missouri side, maybe they weren't saying they wouldn't have been saying that at me as a Missouri resident, but like also why?
Yeah.
What a weird flex.
Yeah.
I'd feel the same way if like all of a sudden Kansas started to, and I guess it would happen that way if you guys have just been facing down the barrel of people yelling in your face.
You've seen it during broadcasts. If the announcer makes the mistake that says like, or there's a graphic and it shows that the stadium's on the Kansas side, people lose their damn mind. They're like, no, this stadium is in Missouri. So it absolutely happens. It's silly, but it definitely happens.
That part I think is real. When they're like, Kansas City, I'm so happy to be here. And they say Kansas. Okay, fine. That's real. No one's arguing that. I don't think I've ever flexed it. It's like, well, the team is in Missouri, so.
Yeah, this text makes no sense. They said, if the Jayhawks were somewhere else, you would lose your mind. It's a terrible example.
That's a really bad.
And it's in Lawrence. It's
University
not
of Kansas. Like, it literally doesn't. Sorry, that's just a bad example.
University of Kansas in Missouri.
That just doesn't make any sense.
Can you imagine?
And also, it's just a bad example.
Makes no sense.
That's just a terrible example.
Cody, is your brethren irritated that it's no longer UMKC? It's Kansas City University that they got rid of the Missouri in there. Is that a big deal?
No, we're good.
Ultimately, what everybody should care about is that these teams stay in the Kansas City area. That's the luxury we have because of where we all live and having the state line as close to where we're all at. Is that we're not talking truly about leaving the region. It's whether or not they're staying in Jackson County or on the Missouri side or they're going across the border. And people will not like that if that's what happens, but they're staying. We're not losing our teams. That's ultimately what I care about. And frankly, I think that's what we should all care about. Are our teams staying here? We've all made fun of St. Louis for losing multiple NFL teams, okay?
And lots of others, right? Like Oakland's lost everybody.
San Diego lost the Chargers to LA. Like that's disastrous type of stuff. So that's ultimately what I care about.
Yeah, just being in the city. I would again prefer downtown, and Arrowhead just is, and we just move. It just gets like updated, new Arrowhead or whatever. But
yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if all of a sudden we're having one of these DC conversations. I was gonna be like, "Hey, Royals press conference," and you're like, about what?
Yeah,
No,
it's just
and not the Jason Vargas situation.
Yeah.
Major announcement.
Trash of the day.
All right, couple for you. Let's start down in Florida, by the way, with a car chase that was going on. There was actually a really good one in L.A. last night. I love when they pop those up on the stream. You can watch the L.A. car chases. They got Stu Mandel, I think is his name, who's like the reporter in the helicopter there. He's a legendary figure in L.A. He's incredible. You should try it, watching that once in a while. It's entertaining. Anyway, there was a chase in Florida, and it was very serious because not only was she going 90 to 120 miles an hour at one point, but while she was driving, there happened to be like a marathon going on. So there's people on this sidewalk or the street, or
she's going 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, very dangerous. Ooh. And a tire blew out, and the tire flew, which with that speed that can kill somebody.
Of course.
So very scary stuff. But it gets crazier at the end of the story. So eventually she did crash, and she did have to go to the hospital, and she's going to be fine. But this individual, once she was at the hospital getting checked out, troopers said she urinated on herself in the lobby while loudly singing gospel songs. And she would alternate between sleeping, singing, and talking to herself during her treatment. After initially agreeing to field sobriety test, she refused, saying, quote, God the Father told her to stop. She was taken to jail without any further
incident. So she's just
She's
like on bath salts or
faced
something.
several charges, DUI, felony charge for fleeing, and disregard for safety of persons or property. But, yeah, she was on something, Cody, that's for sure. I don't know what it was,
I don't think
man.
you just start randomly singing gospel music and peeing your pants
No.
without something going on there, right? Seems pretty unlikely that would be the case. God, you imagine how scary that would be if you were running a marathon and all of a sudden somebody's driving.
Oh, man.
Now, a police chase did happen through the middle of the first Chiefs parade here, as you do recall.
Dude, that was
so
still
just
Drew,
so you know, Drew,
we were
a police chase
broadcasting
took place while we were waiting for the parade to start.
We were broadcast. We had not hopped on. I think Fesco and them were still on the air, but we were waiting. We were at the what was the
We were at Rock Hill Grill.
Yes, Rock Hill Grill, first Chiefs Super Bowl parade for us, and parade route is all marked, and they were already in a police chase, and this person drove right through the parade route. So lucky. So lucky that car did not crash into the actual parade route itself.
We don't talk about that moment nearly enough. We talk more about that guy falling out of the tree with his ass hanging out than the person actually running through a police chase in the middle of a celebration parade.
Absolute disaster. Fortunately, he ended up wrecking his car or going up in the grass like in an area where they weren't. The police did a great job with making sure he didn't harm anybody, but that could have just been a horrific day with that. So, yeah, I forgot about that.
I'll be honest, I'm still seeing, clearly I had been missing out on this whole thing. What county pays tax on the stadium? Case closed, Missouri. I was like, oh, man, I didn't know that there was such
I remind you, people on the Kansas side were willing to pay. Were willing to pay on the rolling roof whole thing, and they just never got to that point.
No, never got far. Were they willing? Was the polling data?
I don't remember.
Suggesting that they were willing to pay?
I've told you, I think the perfect solution is not going to happen.
Bi-state.
Just do the bi-state. And there's plenty of people in Kansas who are like, no, if it's not located in Kansas, why am I paying? But I truly think that's...
You guys all like Union Station, right? It's real nice and cool and kind of a figure of our city.
That was the last time that a bi-state tax was approved. That, to me, is still... Like, people talking about being fair. That's the best path. That's still really... It's just not going to happen, but make Johnson County on the Kansas side and Wyandotte County. And then on the Missouri side, you have Cass, Clay, and Jackson pay. I'm good with that. I told you I have no problem with that.
I'm ready to vow that if I ever become a billionaire, I will pay for my own. Okay?
You will. BS.
Let the record.
Like hell you will.
Let the record stand that if I ever become a billionaire, own the Kansas City Royals, I'll take care of my stadium. We're good. Okay? No worries, everyone. No worries. I got it covered. You guys are fine.
Would you rather do that or buy Shohei Ohtani, essentially? With your
For the Royals,
yes.
you mean?
Yes.
Tough call.
Forget that these are...
As a lifetime Royals fan, I'd probably
forget that these are businesses. We forget.
Huh? Yeah, in my case...
Out of your own pocket for
reckless,
Shohei.
Reckless with this
You'd be so wealthy that you'd be willing to lose
wouldn't matter,
$50 million a year. No big deal.
Exactly.
Okay.
I won't care. It's different for me because, I wouldn't even have known what it was like. All of a sudden, I just have $1 billion. It's fine. They can have it all towards the stadium. I assume, by the way, there's some profitability in owning all of that. Probably lose money for a little bit, like any business, but, we'll get there.
All right, coming up next, we'll get to the Chiefs' red half hour, back into one thing that there's no excuse for the Chiefs the rest of the way.
Cody and Gold.
The facts on this show are irrelevant.
Brought to you by Gann Asphalt and Concrete. For asphalt, concrete, and parking lot maintenance, Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lot. Trusted in Kansas City since 1994. Online at GANNasphalt.com.
Gates Barbecue's unforgettable flavor will make your holiday parties unforgettable. Spice up your holiday eating with Gates sauces and seasonings made with fresh, savory ingredients, and it's gluten-free. Prepare your meats, potatoes, and vegetables with Gates sauces and seasonings while watching the game or relaxing. Sprinkle Gates seasonings on your favorite snack like a bowl of popcorn. Your taste buds will thank you. Buy Gates, available at your local grocer or online at gatesbbq.com. Gates, 75 years serving Kansas City.
Holiday Stories.
Both. One for under the tree and one for her stocking.
Shop holiday gifts in every price range. Fine jewelry crafted with care and made to last a lifetime. 'Tis the season to shine. Shane Company. Fine jewelry since 1929.
Last year, other dealers were charging up to 10 grand over MSRP, but those cars haven't held their value. I'm Jeff Davis, owner of Volkswagen Lease Summit. If your car is worth a lot less money than you bought it for, exchange it.
You guessed it, exchange your vehicle at Volkswagen Lease Summit today. We're offering rates as low as 2.99% APR, low leases, and thousands off MSRP. Come and see us or visit VWLeaseSummit.com.
Financing through VCI on approved credit.
Ho, ho, ho! It's the most magical and hectic time of the year. Spend less time stressing and more time celebrating with a little help from Hy-Vee. Skip the mall and shop at Hy-Vee for amazing gifts, including dozens of popular gift cards. This Friday, for one day only, get a free $10 Hy-Vee gift card with just one stop to make Christmas magic at your Kansas City area Hy-Vee. Offer valid in store only, subject to availability. See store for details.
Hey, it's Kling. As you know, we've got a bunch of Chiefs games coming up, bunch of opportunities to tailgate, watch parties, and of course the upcoming holidays. Sounds like the perfect time to me to stock up on wine, beer, seltzer, and spirits during Hy-Vee's Thirsty Thursday sale. This Thursday only, I'll save 50 cents per gallon on fuel for every $50 I spend on beer, wine, hard seltzer, and spirits. I'm always looking at those fuel savers you can get at Hy-Vee. Don't miss Thirsty Thursday at Hy-Vee. Offer valid at Kansas City area Missouri stores, only where legal and available. See store for details.
Hey guys, Beat Up here from Fesco in the Morning. You hear me talking about it all the time. I'm here with my girl Leanne, 119th and Metcalf location manager. She is literally saving my life one day at a time, 1 pound at a time. And let me tell you, I couldn't do it without the counseling services that her and her staff provide at Slim for Life. No one does counseling like Slim for Life, and it's so true. If you can change your mind, you can change your life. Leanne, tell me about the wonderful counseling that Slim for Life offers to all its clients.
Counseling is so important for that strong accountability. So coming in,
we offer industrial-grade supplies for every industry, with same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders, all backed by real people ready to help. So you can get the right answers and products right when you need them. Call quickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This year, Staples wants everyone to have a happy Holla deal. That's right, Holla Deal. Staples Holla Deals are amazing savings on hot prices on laptops, game systems, earbuds, and more. And now at Staples, you can save up to $350 on select PCs. During Staples Holla Deals, it's not about the fa-la-la. It's about saving moo-la-la. Save up to $350 on select PCs today at Staples. Ends 12/23. In store only. See associate for details.
A holiday message from Jackson Hewitt.
'Twas the yikes before Christmas when all through the house not a creature was stirring, except Larry. See, the stockings weren't hung by the chimney with care, 'cause Larry's wallet was empty with no time to spare. So he went to Jackson Hewitt for a holiday loan, got money so fast, he rejoiced and went home. Avoid the yikes before Christmas. Go to Jackson Hewitt before it's too late. Get up to $1,000 fast, minus the wait.
Early refund advance offered to eligible clients. Application required. Finance charge applies. Loans by Republic Bank. Details at jacksonhewitt.com.
Time is of the essence with COVID-19. Prescription oral treatment must be taken within the first 5 days of symptoms. If you have a high risk factor, ask your doctor if treatment is right for you. Learn more at treatcovid19.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
A mix of sun and clouds today, mild with a high of 56.
Weather brought to you by Cricket Wireless. Switch to Cricket and let your flip era unfold by getting the all-new extraordinary Motorola Razr for just $199.99. Smile, you're on Cricket.
The 610 Sports Radio phone line is brought to you by Onder Law Injury Lawyers. Visit getjim.com.
Chiefs coverage brought to you by Max Motors. 9 major vehicle brands to choose from. MaxMotors.com. It's trade-up days and year-end clearance at Max Motors.
Worth a drive from anywhere.
Get 130% over book value for your trade. Plus huge savings on all new and pre-owned vehicles in stock. No payments for 90 days. That's March of 2024.
Shop 24/7 at MaxMotors.com.
Chiefs Kingdom. This is Mitch Holtis, and welcome into the Chiefs Red Half Hour on Cody and Gold. Every day at 11:30 on your official broadcast partner, the Chiefs, 610 Sports Radio.
It is the Chiefs Red Half Hour. Reminder, though, today coming up at 1 o'clock, it is a Thursday, so Paul Charchian of GuillotineLeagues.com going to join us. Fantasy football playoffs start this week for a lot of you. If not, you got one more week, so it is crunch time for you to figure out what to do with your lineups, overanalyzing it a little bit. Maybe a find or two in the waiver wire, some injuries that are impacting some of you as well. Certainly, if you're a Justin Jefferson and a Tyreek Hill owner, you're a little worried this week with the questions about their availability for this weekend.
At least if you're a Justin Jefferson owner, there's a decent chance you weren't supposed to be in the playoffs anyway, or your team was really good, so that's a bonus one that he's getting back. Tyreek Hill, he's probably the reason why you're in the postseason. He's one of the top fantasy scores across the board. In one of my leagues, Gold, they let you do what I had suggested for the NFL when they were talking about it, which is you get to choose your opponent. You're the number one seed. You'll be like, I'll take that one.
I like that for fantasy.
I love it for the real NFL because when the trash talk element of it, the viscera of like Mahomes is like, we'll take the Steelers. And then he has to sit at the podium and be like, hey, why'd you choose the Steelers? And you're like, I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's exactly why they won't. That's exactly why they won't do it. But it would be incredible. Also, by the way, that's the positive end of it. There's also the negative end. You pick, in your example, you pick the Steelers and they beat you, and it's like, oh boy. Then they overanalyzing. Did they pick the wrong team to play? Oh, I mean, it would be incredible theater. But I don't think they would ever do that. For fantasy purposes, yeah, I'm with you. Like, I'm in a league where I have a bye. I'm the 1 seed, but there's a very good chance whoever I face in the next round is actually better than who the 2 seed faces. So, yeah, I'm with you.
You'd like to pick your opponent.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think, but I understand that it stinks if you're the team who picks your opponent and then you lose. Mm-hmm. But that's what adds the element. And also, just from the NFL perspective, could you imagine televising that? And they had to send a representative. Mark Donovan had to sit up at a table and be like, the Chiefs with the number 1 overall selection for who they'll face is the...
Why would Mark Donovan be announcing this?
Well, I don't know who's going to... They have to send a team representative, and I don't imagine Andy would be willing. The NFL head coaches doing it would be even worse. Or a player doing it? Too risky. It would be someone in the front office, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, it'd be more likely to be Brett Veach than the business side of it.
Yeah, maybe Veach.
But I hear you. Anyway, it's pretty funny overall.
I'd love it, man. I'd absolutely love it.
Before we get into how tough fans are in football, someone figured out a new way to calculate that. It's not great news for Drew. But I wanted to talk more what you mentioned with Dane and Hughes. You asked Dane and Hughes about, hey, basically there's no excuse the next 4 games and doesn't guarantee victory, but he agreed with you. Like you're looking at the quarterbacks that you're facing. If you want to be considered still an AFC contender and you want to have any chance also, by the way, of just being a number 2 or number 1 seed, like these next 4 games, I don't care if you have a bad call that goes your way, by the way, or anything. There's no excuse. You're playing Bailey Zappi. You're going up against Aiden O'Connell or Jimmy Garoppolo here in a week or so, or Brian Hoyer. You're going up against Easton Stick and Jake Browning. There is no excuse, if you were supposed to be taken seriously, to dropping any of these 4 games.
Yeah, taken seriously is in how we take the Chiefs seriously. Hosting or being in another AFC title game, being in the Super Bowl in Las Vegas, any of the things we've grown incredibly accustomed to in Kansas City. And honestly, I borderline kind of expect. When you are this good of a franchise with this good of a coach and that good of a quarterback, my expectations every year are to at least get to the AFC Championship game. You know, that always undersells it a little bit. It's not just that they've hosted 5 straight AFC Championship games. It's that of those 5, 3 have resulted in advancing to the Super Bowl, 2 have advanced to a Super Bowl win, and the other 2 were overtime losses in the AFC title game. You need 5 damn quarters to not be the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, okay? That's what it takes. And if you're going to be at that same level that you've been for the last 5 years, which I still think they can be, these 4 games have to be taken incredibly seriously from you cannot make any amount of excuses. You get a million, like you said, bad calls in a row. You can't lose to these 4. The Patriots are one of the 3 worst teams in the NFL. The Chargers were one of the 10 worst teams in the NFL with their starting quarterback, and now they're starting Easton Stick.
Now, I'll say this. I don't care how they win, though. Like, this isn't, you got to.
No, this isn't pretty stuff. This is just get W's.
Get wins. Because I, by the way, think the Patriots game could be very close on Sunday.
They've kept a lot of teams close.
Yeah, this isn't like normally we'd be. In years past, we would have said, you would have been on this show, I guarantee you, because we've done this. We would have said, don't just beat the Patriots. I need to see you destroy them. No. Much different season. Just find ways to win. I don't care if the Chiefs win by 3 points against the Patriots. People can come on the show Monday and be freaking out and say, they're still not. Just find ways to win. You need to put together 4 wins, get to 12 wins, give yourself a chance at the 2 seed and see if you get lucky towards the 1 seed and feel good about yourself heading into the postseason.
I'm not going to demand it. Hold on. I wouldn't mind.
Obviously.
2 decent offensive performances of the last 4
sure.
games. They don't all have to be like 2 Gold that I felt pretty good about. I mean, kind of nice. The Patriots would actually be maybe the one that you would feel the best about. They go out there and drop 27 on a Patriots defense that's been holding everybody down. I'm going to feel fantastic for a minute. But nothing is going to make me feel different about the Chiefs and Patriots game unless they absolutely throttle them. Like, I'm not going to walk in here on Monday and be like, problem solved.
I mean, New England.
Unless it's 30-0. And even then, I'll be like, okay, cool, good win. Let's get to the next win, and then we can keep having these conversations.
In the last couple of Patriots games, so they beat on Thursday Night Football the Steelers 21-18. They scored 21 in the first half. They don't score the rest of the game. They still beat the Steelers 21-18. Then they lost to the Chargers 6-0. They lost to the Giants 10-7, lost to the Colts 10-6, lost to the Commanders 20-17, lost to the Dolphins 31-17. They beat the Bills somehow 29-25. I still don't know how that happened.
That is the most inexplicable loss of the entire NFL
And they lost to the Saints 34-0. So, look, their it doesn't make their offense is terrible, but their defense is certainly more than respectable. And with the Chiefs' struggles, this is why the line has gone down where the Chiefs are just 7.5-point favorites. I understand that. Like, I still would probably lean towards the Patriots. The only way I would take the Chiefs is I tease them down 6 points and match them up with another game. Like,
that's
otherwise,
a tough line too. 6.5, you're probably feeling different about it.
Yeah, but it opened at 10. The Chiefs were 10. The Chiefs, let's be honest, have no business being 10-point favorites over anybody. Not with this offense right now. No way.
How many teams have they beaten by 10 this year?
Well, the Bears.
I can think of 3 at least.
Bears and Chargers, right?
And Raiders.
Raiders.
So I mean, maybe it's not as crazy as you think.
Oh, we did. Come on now.
Come on, they beat 3 teams by 10.
It's December 14th, man.
Let's see how many 10-point wins. 8 points against the Jags. I think we probably named them all. Nope. They got 11-point win against the Broncos. That 19-8 showing.
Right. That's right. By the way, that would be like if you tell me the Chiefs covered
19-8.
That's the score of this game on Sunday too, right? Like that's the score of this game.
20-9.
That's the score on Sunday against the Patriots. If you think the Chiefs are covering, that's the score. Yeah, it's like
20-12. They kick 4 field goals.
17-9. It's something like that.
I mean, of their 13 games, they've covered that a third of the time.
Well, the Chiefs
and this is one of the worst teams in the NFL.
The Chiefs
it's not as crazy as it sounds.
The Chiefs have been better this year against the spread than they were a year ago. And that just speaks to the lines were so massive a year ago when this team was cranking out big-time offensive performances. But this year, they're not as good on offense, but because of their defense, they're better against the spread. They've actually been a better team to bet on.
A text line from for Paul Charchian later in the show. Absolutely. I think could you have imagined this sentence earlier in the year, which was AFC and NFC offensive players of the week were Tommy DeVito and
hell of a time to be alive.
Zach Wilson. Because someone on 620 says, "Hey, Nick Mullins or Tommy DeVito?" I'm like, if someone had told me that they were in the fantasy football playoffs and they were choosing between quarterbacks, Nick Mullins or Tommy DeVito, I'd be like, how many teams are in this league? Is it a 22-team league? Is it 3 quarterbacks? I'm going to need some explanation for how you got down to this. But in a year where it's all half of the league is starting a backup quarterback at this point, aren't they? I'm not even sure that's an exaggeration. I think it might be half the league.
It's at least 12. I don't know if it's at least like 12 backups have gotten significant time this year. It's nuts. Absolutely nuts. I mentioned every once in a while we get these emails sent to us just random. Sometimes it's useful. Sometimes it's not. This one was intriguing to me. And this had to do with the NFL's toughest fan bases, okay? Toughest fan bases, and they used a algorithm to figure this out. They actually used your Chat GPT. To rank NFL fan bases based on historical team characteristics, fan loyalty, and general aura around team, city, or region. So the top 5 toughest fan bases in football, according to this. Have you guys seen the list?
No.
No, I have not.
Do you care to guess who the 5 toughest are based off of this?
Well, I like to think the Chiefs are on the list. They make the top 5?
They did not.
Oh, wow. Okay. Raiders.
They did.
Rep alone.
They did.
The new Raiders fan, this will be different in a few years.
True.
But they're living off reputation.
So they were 5.
Steelers
were 1.
Bills?
No. The Steelers were 1. Raiders were 5.
It's cold. You got to think cold
Are
weather
the Patriots on there?
They are not.
Packers?
Packers were 2.
Packers, okay. Cold weather. Always think cold weather.
Who were 3 and 4?
Bears?
Bears were 3.
Okay.
And who were 4?
Vikings?
No.
Indoor stadium.
Indoor
They've
stadium.
gone soft.
That does it.
It's another colder weather city.
Yeah, they've gone soft.
It's another colder weather
Cincinnati?
city. No.
Okay. Great.
We'll talk
It
about
was
them in
the
a minute.
Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh,
so
Eagles, stop.
top
Yeah, that
five
makes
toughest:
sense.
Steelers,
Got it.
Packers,
Makes
Bears,
sense.
Eagles, Raiders.
Absolutely
Now,
tracks.
the Chiefs come in at number 9.
Okay, respectable
Chiefs
toughness.
fans, number 9 toughest fan base according to this in the NFL. Who was ahead of them other than the 5? Browns were 6. Ravens were 7. Bills were 8. Chiefs were 9. Patriots were 10. That was the top 10. At least the Chiefs made the top 10. Do you care to know the bottom 5?
Sure.
Number 32.
Cardinals or something, right?
Jaguar fans.
Okay.
The soft,
Yep,
basically
all
what
right.
we viewed as the softest,
Super warm,
wimpiest,
tank tops and flip-flops. They're not beating you in a fight.
Softest,
That's right. You're not losing any
wimpiest
Jacksonville.
fans, Jacksonville. 31, Chargers.
Again,
Least loyal.
L.A.
Smallest
Surprised
fan
that's
base.
not one.
30, our producer. Cincinnati Bengals.
Oh,
Soft fan base.
Do
Cincinnati.
something about it, Drew. Come kick Gold's ass. Show him that you're tougher than him.
30th. You're Cincinnati fans.
This is based on what again? What's
A
the
very
criteria?
scientific Chat GPT algorithm
Oh,
based
AI
on
created this?
based on historical team characteristic, fan loyalty, aura around the city and region.
No, all you got to do is listen to. All you got to do is listen to Nate Taylor's his evaluation of the city of Cincinnati. And
In fairness,
yes,
like if you
29 was the Rams, 28 was the Cardinals.
if you lined up every fan from a fan base and they're all wearing their team's gear and they're all like equal size, right? Equal height and weight. And you had to choose to pick a fight with 3 of them, Cincinnati would be pretty high on that list.
I mean, I think Jacksonville.
Jacksonville's one.
Jacksonville,
Arizona
What's gonna be
Chargers.
a
A Cardinals fan is a real hard ass. I don't think so.
I was still a Dolphins fan too. Like we're picking all warm weather, like warm weather.
The LAs,
Soft.
yeah.
Warm weather.
Soft.
A lot of retirees. Like
Yeah.
that's
We fight like an 80-year-old.
That's what we're picking.
gotta
I
do.
know none of us are saying, "Oh, Pittsburgh or Chicago." No,
I'm not trying to get in a fight with someone from Philadelphia
Cowboys,
or New York. No,
Cowboys
no.
probably should have. I don't know if toughest is more just like as far as getting in fights. Cowboys would have been a lot higher on the list. They're 11. Broncos came in at 13. If you were wondering,
where are the Niners?
15th.
Okay.
Vikings were 16, and then like in the late 20, Jets fans were 22. And because I told you, Ravens were 7. I hear it. I don't know, it's tough, but I told
Jets
you
fans
that
were
was
22?
The Ravens leaving that
Then he
game.
might take offense to
leaving
that.
game in Baltimore. I told you that was an uncomfortable feeling a couple of years ago. Walking out of that stadium in Chiefs gear was
didn't
not.
wanna get in a fight
I
that
was
day,
not
did ya?
very comfortable until I got out of that stadium and out of that area around that stadium in Baltimore.
The one thing someone is pointing about Jacksonville fans is that they're all Florida man, which is concerning.
Yeah.
There is like a certain amount of like, is this person on PCP and I don't want to fight them. Without knowing that version of it, I'm a little more concerned. They don't seem like they have a real safety for their own, like a real fear for their own safety, right? Like you're not worried enough about being hurt or injured in this situation. You don't think things through. That's concerning from the Florida part of this. I think Arizona would be my number 1 pick. If you made me fight random fan of a fan base, I think I would choose the Arizona Cardinals. They don't really have that many fans anyway. They got to be beaten down by life and being an Arizona Cardinals fan their whole life.
Right.
Warm weather, so they're all comfy and soft. I think that'd be the city I'd fight the most.
Someone said the Chiefs would win if they just took every team's top super fan. So we get Chiefsaholic. That is not really represents us anymore.
He also got knocked out. I mean, recently,
Well, it
he's not
certainly would have
undefeated
been-
in the ring anymore. I watched him get knocked out.
He got knocked out.
Oh, not
Chiefsaholic?
Chiefsaholic. I'm thinking of X Factor.
You're thinking of. I was like, Chiefsaholic got punched. No, you're thinking of X Factor.
I've never
and
seen
that's-
Chiefsaholic get in a fight, but he's in prison now, so he's probably had to toughen up a bit.
Meth addict, which I'm a cocaine addict.
He's not our champion. Maybe the guy who knocked him out.
Yeah.
Unnamed fan.
Red Extreme.
Wasn't
Wasn't that his name?
anonymous?
No, that was a different name. Was it Red Extreme? What was the name of the person who knocked out X Factor?
I think it was.
Something like that.
Red Extreme.
What?
There's a lot of super fans out there. A lot of super fans.
Who are the Cincinnati super fans?
I don't know this guy's name, but his beard is like he dyes the beard orange with the stripes. His face is all painted. He's got
That's you. That's
he's
you,
got stuff
Drew.
all over the place.
Have you been to a Bengals game, like in the stadium?
Yes.
Okay, you have. All right.
That was a long time ago. I haven't been.
So back then, when tickets were a lot cheaper, because Cincinnati was trash.
No, this is what was it? 20.
Not cheap. This is go to
20
Panthers game right now.
Yeah, did you see?
It
that?
might have been the Oh my goodness.
I don't know.
45 cents.
I almost thought it was fake.
2 quarters.
I almost thought it was fake, but someone put out a screenshot of a stadium chart, and it looked like a resale marketplace. And Panthers are playing the Falcons this week, and showed there were multiple listings for tickets for 45 cents.
If you're a Falcons fan, why would you not
can't
go?
100% confirm that. I wonder if it's fake, but either way, it's believable because of the Panthers.
45 cents. I mean, I guess I would just go.
Sure,
Like,
you
I-
would.
you
With
know,
fees,
like-
it's still probably $50 a ticket, but with fees
That's pretty
these days.
cheap, though, man. Like, if you had never had the ability to go or take your kid to an NFL game, I mean, that'd be the moment, wouldn't it? Like, 45 cents get you in the door? I mean, even if you can just find, like, somewhere to park nearby and walk a little bit of a distance.
Oh,
It's
if you had
15
yeah,
bucks
if you
to
had,
get in.
if you have a couple kids and you know it's way too expensive maybe to get them.
It's always like the preseason one.
some-
The company's handing out the preseason
Yeah.
ticket. The little kid doesn't know.
No.
The 6 or 7 year old doesn't realize that Shane Buechele's
Did
out
you-
there dealing in the fourth.
Did you ask the boss finally for Chiefs Bengals tickets?
I did. I am on the wait list.
You waited too long.
Well,
Right?
I think he still has a decent chance because it's on New Year's Eve, right?
Yeah.
And somebody, usually I don't know if there were tickets or the suite. The suite sometimes opens up because a client doesn't show up or says they can't go. I don't know if he puts you on the wait list for any ticket period. So I still think you got a chance.
The year I went to go see the Bengals play at Paycor Stadium before it was named that, Paul Brown Stadium, 42-28, the Bengals beat the Colts. They were 9-4 at the time, so they were good, but they did not win a playoff game. I can guarantee you that.
Andy Dalton, right?
Yeah, the Red Rifle threw 4 touchdowns in that game. Ben Jarvis Green Ellis was the Bengals starting running back.
The law firm. It's just like reminding me to a different time of Europe, because the Chiefs during that time had a bunch of players that were like, yeah, they're all pretty good, but not that good, right? Not good enough to actually do something in the postseason. I am so glad we don't have to have that conversation anymore as a Chiefs fan. Like they're always capable of doing something.
Yeah. Real quick, we were talking about the fan bases because someone pointed out, like, the NFL's announcing they're going to have games now in Brazil, and someone's like, hey, Sao Paulo, it's dangerous. I'm not that. My guess is the NFL is going to have incredible amounts of security and working with to make sure the last thing they want is something happening around.
It was good enough for Taylor Swift to have a concert there. I feel like
I think it'll be all right. They'll have a ton of security. What's the one fan we mentioned fan bases, but like for years it was like, hey, if you're a Chiefs fan, you don't go to a game in Oakland wearing Chiefs gear. Like it truly is dangerous. Do you feel that way about anywhere else now? Like not heckled and all that, but I'm talking about like there was a thought going to a Chiefs fan going to Oakland.
Fandom
like
changed a
people
lot.
their fans got stabbed.
Maybe
Like it was
San
a real
Francisco, maybe,
thing.
with all those fights that have been going on, or is that more of an LA?
I think Santa
thing
Clara.
as
I would have
well?
no problem wearing Chiefs gear at Santa Clara. No, I think you're good. I don't know.
No, I
Philly,
don't think
I'm not talking about just being like heckled and harassed.
Maybe Philly because they're kind of a tough city and they recently beat them in the Super Bowl. But before this previous season, I wouldn't have feared it.
Like obviously, Green Bay's the nicest freaking people ever. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, no Midwest.
I don't think
nobody in Texas cares enough about their teams.
Philly would be the only one, but honestly, I think there's none left where I'm like, man, I couldn't wear my jersey in that stadium and feel safe.
I think
someone said, doesn't Gold have a Baltimore story? Yeah, we already referenced that. That was the one where that was dicey. Not during the game. Like during the game, fine. It was walking out of the stadium. That was dicey. And then outside the stadium.
But you were in a suite for the game.
I was.
No one's gonna pick on you inside the suite.
That's why we were good there.
That's not that kind of crowd. They're not the threatening type.
We were good. We were good when we were there. It's once you walk out of the suite and then you're in the main concourse. And imagine there's just thousands of Ravens fans, obviously all thrilled because they just beat the Chiefs. It was the Clyde Edwards-Helaire fumble game. And yeah, we're walking out in Chiefs gear, and immediately they see us, and it's like, oh no, oh no.
It's
we should have
It's
waited.
terrible people.
It's Baltimore too, so yeah.
Terrible people Ravens fans are. Come on.
Yeah. Anyway, it's Baltimore, man.
We're dumping on the city of Baltimore. It's fine.
It's Baltimore, not the safest. It's not the safest city. It's just not. It's Baltimore.
The fan base is terrible. They're rude, ignorant.
Oh, this is you just talking Cincinnati now.
This
is just Cincinnati
I feel like all of a sudden I got to stand up for Baltimore.
Ignorant, yeah.
You guys are making me stand up for Baltimore. Seems
No.
like a perfectly fine city. You guys need to let your vendetta against
The
the city
Bay,
go.
the
city's
Bay,
great,
the
I'm
Bay,
You think Chiefs fans never showed their ass to a fellow fan coming down the building?
Literally?
Because I bet they have. I'll bet they have.
That wasn't it was more truly an unsafe. It wasn't just getting mooned. That was like that's funny. I'm talking about like as you're walking out, and even
The energy was bad.
Yeah, like just we were shoulder to shoulder, and it just was not good. It was not a good vibe
Fair enough.
for a little bit.
That is sketchy. The only bad that
At
vibe.
least you're safe there.
Yes.
I know we talk about the offense a lot, and it's almost always focused on the wide receiver. I think we can talk more as we go. The offensive line, especially at tackles, got to wear some of this. But I was just like thinking more about Wanye specifically. Because the offensive line is great in the interior, and we know that the Tooney, Trey Smith, Creed Humphrey combination is great. we talked about Wanye and the fact that maybe that means in the draft they wouldn't have to go after left tackle. But if they bring Wanye back and he is their left tackle next year, does that mean they could sign Creed and Trey? Like, is there a chance they can keep the strength of this interior offensive line together, knowing that Joe Thuney's only got 1 year left on his deal? I feel like it's more likely than it's ever been that now maybe both of those guys will get to stay in.
So you think that they let Thuney's contract play out and he's gone in a year?
Yep.
And then so instead, in the meantime, they're paying that much money to both guards?
Yes.
Yeah, look, so I hear you.
Because they're already paying right tackle, that's done.
Yeah.
Left tackle, if they get 3 cheap years out of Wanye, then they can't pay guards.
It's great if Wanye ends up being that guy and it looks like he's going to play on Sunday as Donovan Smith not practicing again today. I still don't, it's not like whether you can, Cody. I don't know if I want that kind of dollar amount at my guard position.
Okay.
I already have that with Joe Thuney right now. It's not so much that like, oh, can they? Do you really want them paying their center as the highest paid center in football and their right guard as a top 3 guard in football and
their
for
right tackle.
And for 1 year paying the left guard also top tier money and then paying my right tackle top tier money when I want to take care of L'Jarius Sneed, when in 2 years I'm going to have to pay McDuffie big time money? You know what I mean? Like
so you go back to the draft for right guard?
I do. And I like Trey Smith. He's a hell of a player, but we've talked about this. It's not so much can they do it. It is that do you want them spending that kind of money at what we view as a position that is a little more easy to replace?
I think it is typically a little easier to replace, but they've at times been paying like they've been paying left tackle and left guard and, like they've had more than one high-paid offensive lineman on the line at the same time. And Thuney and Creed and Trey won't all be paid at the same time because they'll have that initial cheap year left as part of the extension, right? Next year will still be a cheap year for both of those players. And then Thuney I'll be ready to go cheap there, left guard. I'll then be 2 full years into Juwan Taylor, and I can make a decision about right tackle if that needs to be a high-paid position because that's where the out in that contract is. And so about whether or not does not bury these other guys, in my opinion, now that you may not have to pay left tackle. It is a huge if. It relies on you trusting Wanye Morris to be your starter, not just for this year, but for multiple years at tackle for Patrick Mahomes. Because that's the leap of faith you have to take if you really want Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith to both stay.
And he's got a chance to keep proving it. And he looks like he's going to start again. 913-586-7610 from the 816. Did the Shohei deal not show you guys that none of this money matters? It's all monopoly money. That's baseball. There's not a salary cap in baseball, and you can't defer money in the NFL. So I hear you. Like we do say all the time, you can maneuver the cap around in the NFL to make it work, but there is still a cap. You can maneuver it around for a year or two, but eventually you do have to pay up. That's why you got teams like the Saints who are going to be negative $60 million in cap, teams like the Chargers who have some tough decisions to make. So I hear you, but the Shohei Ohtani example doesn't work. I mean, it's baseball compared to football. It's a completely different financial system.
If you know you're not going to pay Trey Smith, do you trade Thuney and go back to the draft and jumpstart this a year early?
I don't know.
Or do you just ride out Trey Smith's contract and take whatever comp pick you might get back in return if he becomes a free agent and signs elsewhere?
I think that's the play.
I mean, both are options. I'm not saying it's not that. Because dinging your offensive line for 1 year because you don't know what the answer is might put you in harm's way again, which you don't want to do. The text line is like, I still think they have to pick one. They might. And I'll tell you, if I had to pick one, not just because we did the whole Creed is a good thing, I'll choose the center. I've seen enough
the relationship
historically
with the
great quarterbacks really like relying on the center. And it's just like that's the guy who can keep everything in order. He knows what the quarterback wants. He knows what the quarterback wants from a protection. He knows what Andy wants from a protection. They have bigger responsibilities than guard. They just do. So I would just take the chance at center before I would take the chance at guard if I'm locking up somebody long term.
Coming up next, we get to what's trending. And one thing Cody says it's time for the Chiefs to do, and I don't think there's a need for it this offseason. We'll tell you what it is next.
Cody and Gold.
This random question is about Patrick Mahomes' underwear.
Brought to you by Gann Asphalt and Concrete. For asphalt, concrete, and parking lot maintenance, Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lot. Trusted in Kansas City since 1994. Online at GANNasphalt.com. 610 Sports Radio.
You can change your career in as little as 4 months thanks to our friends over at Centric who are making sure they stay up to date. We just talked about the AI-generated ChatGPT that told us that Bengals fans are wimps and that we can all beat them up. Well, you could be working on these types of programs because that's where technology is headed.
Yeah, look, IT is the future, so why not make it your future? A chance also for better hours, better pay, and a career you can be proud of. These are all things that you can find at Centric, and they've got great relationships in the industry. How about 1,500 companies that have actually hired Centric grads? And these relationships not only help you when you graduate, but it's why their curriculum is always up to date, even if you're in the middle of a program.
Go to centric.com/610, talk to our guy, Russ Mondry. He'll walk you through the program and see how you could use that GI Bill or other ways to make sure you get that education you want. Again, as little as 4 months, and you could be in a new career in IT. That's centric.com/610.
Midwest Marine Boat Company is celebrating their new location, now open in Grandview, Missouri. I was just out there a couple weeks ago, and one thing I noticed right away is the additional technicians they now have in their service department. I was talking to some folks there that said, hey, it's great. Some places will tell you, yeah, we can get some work done on your boat, but it's going to be a month. A month, the summertime is already here. You don't have a month to waste of your time on the lake, specifically if you've got that boat you've been waiting to take out for months and months. You know what's nice about extra technicians that they have? They're turning boats around faster. Their service department is just simply more efficient to get you back out on the water. And if you're looking for a brand new boat, come check out the new huge, and I mean huge, indoor showroom at Midwest Marine Boat Company. They have the largest selection of pontoon boats in the area. Also, new lines of Bass Cat, Crown Line, Vexus, and Sea Arc. Midwest Marine Boat Company, the brand new location with a massive indoor showroom at 13800 South 71 Highway in Grandview, Missouri. We take pride in your fun.
We're the Hellsberg Wedding Band, and whoa, look at that ring. Boy, is she fancy dancing with that ring. Everybody checking her dancing with that ring. Disco ball on her finger, dancing with that ring. Honestly, nobody's dancing because they're just staring at that ring. Ha! This holiday season, save up to 50% off select engagement rings and wedding bands of the highest quality. Visit a Hellsberg near you or Hellsberg.com and she'll be dancing with that ring. Ha!
We're talking with Dr. David Bach, board-certified urologist at Kansas City Urology Care. Doctor, when it comes to prostate cancer, what makes KCUC the best?
KCUC treats more prostate cancer than anyone else in the metro, and for that matter, in this part of the country.
What does that mean for the patient?
As part of cancer care, a patient will need a urologist, a pathologist, a medical oncologist, and a radiation oncologist. We offer specialists, board-certified specialists, in all those areas on site. It's important to a patient because they want the best possible care with the best possible outcomes with the fewest chances of side effects. Without a doubt, Kansas City Urology Care is the expert in prostate cancer therapy.
See the prostate cancer experts, Kansas City Urology Care. At KCUC, you see the best in KC. To make an appointment, visit appointments.kcurology.com.
It's touchdown, Kansas City for homeowners. When you sell your home as is, in any condition, to rexbuyskc.com. This is Mitch Holtis, voice of the Chiefs. And now, sell your home to Rex. No matter the condition or situation, with closing details designed to fit your schedule, needs, and wants.
Thanks, Mitch. This is Rex, owner of rexbuyskc.com, your local home buyer. We offer instant cash offers on the first visit. We pay you more. We give you unlimited options on how to sell your home as is with no out-of-pocket repair cost, no closing cost, fees, or commissions, and will close in as little as 7 days. Call now at 816-330-6000 or go online to rexbuyskc.com.
Rex will buy your home for more with huge cash offers, fair and honest dealings, and options that make selling your home quick and hassle-free.
Homeowners, call now, 816-330-6000 or go online at rexbuyskc.com.
As the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay hot on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/win and kick off the NFL season. That's FanDuel.com/win. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
Must be 21 plus in President State where lawful to wager. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino LLC. First online real money wager only $5 pregame money line wager required. First online real money wager only $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days at FanDuel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit FanDuel.com/RG in Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Virginia. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342 in Arizona, 1-888-789-7. Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.
Hey, Scott. What brings you into the pharmacy?
I'm thinking about getting one of the updated COVID-19 vaccines.
Great. Do you know which type of vaccine you'd like?
There's more than one?
Yep, there are different types of vaccines available. You can learn more about them at WeDoVaccines.com. If you have questions or want to make an appointment, give me a call.
What was that website again?
WeDoVaccines.com.
Thanks. I'll check it out.
This message was brought to you by Novavax.
Don't miss new deals every day during Lowe's 25 days off select tools and accessories. Plus, bring home a Werner 4-foot fiberglass stepladder, now just $29.98. And get same-day delivery for eligible in-stock items when you order by 2 p.m. Lowe's knows deals every day. Valid through 12/20 while supplies last. Selection varies by location. Delivery by 8 p.m. Subject to driver availability. Fees vary based on purchase. Additional terms apply. See Lowe's.com/same-day delivery for details.
You're listening to 610 Sports Radio from the Max Motors Studios.
Hey, it's Willie Gay Jr. You're listening to the official broadcast partner of the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs, 610 Sports Radio.
KCSP Kansas City, WDAF HD2 Liberty. Always live on the free Odyssey app. What's trending?
All right, let's check in on the hot topics trending.
We'll start with the Chiefs, an injury update. Our guy Pete Sweeney out at Arrowhead today. The Chiefs saying that Mike Edwards, still dealing with an illness, will not practice today. The good news, Leo Chanel is back after an illness, so hopefully it's just a cold flu or something like that, and Mike Edwards will be good by the time the Chiefs do take on the Patriots. But Isaiah Pacheco and Donovan Smith not practicing, that continues to put them in a spot to not play on Sunday in New England. Pacheco and Smith. Now, Pacheco has missed 5 straight practices. We went through this last week. He's not He's not playing on Sunday, right? I mean, it's pretty odd. Neither is Smith, and that's fine.
They need them more for the playoff run than they need them now. But at some point, you'd like to get Pacheco back. And weirdly enough, the not practicing part, I'd rather just be limited and then not getting in these games. He's not getting on the field at all.
Well, it's the same shoulder. It's the same,
I know.
If all of a sudden we're sitting here in 3 weeks from now and it's the same, shoulder contusion. Well, then it probably wasn't a shoulder contusion. It was probably something more. It was probably something more serious.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Or the most severe shoulder contusion of all time. They're obviously trying to rest him for a more important slate of games. I think that's at least part of the equation here. But still, probably no Isaiah Pacheco again this Sunday against the Patriots. Next up on What's Trending, Missouri's SEC schedule is out. Gold, I got bad news for you as a guy who wants to see Missouri not succeed. Their schedule is actually relatively favorable.
When have I ever said that?
Come on, man.
I don't know. I've ever said that before.
Come on.
I don't think I've ever said that.
Come on. Are we doing that?
I don't think I've said that.
Is that what we're doing?
I don't think I've said that.
Their first tough game, or likely tough game, is probably about halfway into the season. They'll take on Alabama. They'll take on Oklahoma as they head into there. But their SEC schedule, for the most part, not that bad. There's a decent chance they'll be 7-0 going into their game against Alabama. Murray State, Buffalo, Boston College, Vanderbilt, A&M, UMass, and Auburn before they take on Alabama. And Auburn at home, by the way, a team that they're currently a little bit better than, before they have to take on that. That kind of looks like a 10-2-ish Missouri Tigers team. Maybe 9-3, but 10-2 would be college football
It
playoff.
certainly could be a tougher schedule. You know what I mean? Meaning that it sets up nicely for them. And we know, with the expansion of the college football playoff, definitely
this year they would have been in with 2 losses.
Thinking of schedules, you mentioned KU a little bit there. There's a report out today from Bryson Stricker, and then there's been a comment from Illinois that perhaps KU's football game at Illinois next year, it's the return trip, part of the two-year deal, that Illinois is reportedly trying to get out of playing KU next year. Now, Illini spokesperson says nothing on the schedule has changed. Right now, they're supposed to play KU next September 7th, but that would just be funny that a Big Ten school would be trying to get out of playing a game against KU football.
Yes, because it's too hard of an opponent. Could you imagine saying that sentence? We just mentioned the Tommy DeVito thing. Imagine saying that sentence 5 years ago. Illinois avoiding Kansas due to too difficult of a schedule. That looks true, though, man. Kansas is a lot tougher than they used to be. Next up on What's Trending, the NBA last night suspended Draymond Green indefinitely by the NBA. They said that they're going to make him go through certain steps in order to be reinstated by the NBA. This is after the 3rd incident this year, the 6th incident in the last 2 years, and he's been ejected from an NBA game 18 times. Look, it's not an easy decision. I'm surprised they went this strong with it. I thought they might just hammer him for 20 or 25 games. But they're going to indefinitely suspend him until he proves that he can do that after he hit a swinging back fist on Nurkic a couple of days ago, and that comes after choking a player earlier in the year and stomping on one. They've got a Draymond Green problem a little bit because he can't keep acting like this on the court because this is not the 1980s NBA. I think they're just really trying to set a message of if you're going to be the one player in the league who continuously plays at this like this, we're going to have some sort of punishment.
But this isn't even old school NBA stuff. I mean, he's throwing punch. We're not talking about like playing rougher and intentionally shoving guys. He's throwing punches. I mean, of course you're going to get ejected.
Kicking people in the groin area.
Yeah, I mean, he's crossed the line. This isn't just like, oh, the league's not as tough as it was. No, this dude is out here doing something.
I just think it's a big difference between 5 games for the headlock, and then now they're like, no, you're just out until we say so.
And they finally said, the 20th time you screwed up, we've had enough. We're laying down the law. The 20th time that you did something.
I know, but like Gilbert Arenas went into the stands and they gave him 50. They gave him a number, I'm surprised they didn't give Draymond a number. Now, I don't think it'll be 50 games
indefinite because
if he takes care of the stuff he's supposed to.
They say indefinite, which is how they started with the John Morant suspension initially when he was going through treatment or whatever. That's why they say indefinite. You don't want to say, hey, we're requiring you to get counseling and you're back in 20 games because that defeats the purpose of the whole idea.
It's up to the player to figure it out.
The goal is, hey, we're going to say they're going to make you go to counseling, indefinite suspension, however long it takes you, that's what it is, versus saying, counseling, but you're back in 20 games. I think that's what it is.
Of course, the text line immediately from the 816, Rudy Gobert deserved it. Then they called him a French a-hole. I'm like,
wow,
what did Rudy Gobert do?
Someone's this guy is not happy with Rudy Gobert. He's a Rudy Gobert hater.
Apparently. Dude, he had to have his own moment where he openly mocked COVID by licking a bunch of microphones essentially in front of a group of reporters and then immediately tested positive. And then the entire league shut down and then the entire country shut down.
Oh, 2020.
He was right at the beginning of the COVID launch.
2020. What a year.
Do you miss it? You want to go back?
No.
Do you miss it?
Do you miss it?
The first 4 weeks, 5 weeks, I'll take back. We had just started our new show together. We were in Miami for the Super Bowl. The Chiefs won. First 5 weeks. I like the first 5 weeks of 2020. That's it.
I do miss the unemployment pay. My goodness.
But you were on unemployment pay.
Because of COVID.
I was employed. So
unemployment pay. What are you talking about?
We were employed, but because of COVID, there were certain cost-cutting things that the people, I was one of the people that lost the job. And
I got you.
I was
unemployed.
There was a lot of money I was making.
Were you making more being unemployed or working?
I was making more money than I was working.
That was the whole debate, though, right?
Very
because
weird.
People weren't. I don't want to open it, but that was.
Do you really want to get into this?
That was
no,
political.
No, we don't. No, we don't.
It's not political. He brought it up.
I said I missed the unemployment money.
Yeah.
That's where we'll end it.
Yeah. That was the whole argument,
Kids these days,
right?
Was
don't
that
people weren't wanting to go back.
I never said that.
No, I know people. Not true.
Excuse me.
People weren't wanting to go back to work because they were making more money from a check from the government.
Yeah.
That was the whole debate.
I do remember that debate.
Remember the whole stimulus check thing too?
I do.
2020.
I'll take that child tax credit back.
Oh, yeah.
I bet so.
I'll take
I bet you would. I bet you would.
I'll take that bad boy back.
Mm-hmm.
They're handing out thousands of bucks per kid. Yes, please.
Coming up in an hour, Paul Charchian of GuillotineLeagues.com going to join us. We'll get his thoughts on Week 15 fantasy football playoffs underway for most people. We are down to 4 people in our Cody and Gold Listener Guillotine League. Wings for a year from Jefferson's up for grabs. Drew and I are in it, and then we've got 2 of our listeners. Hunter and Sea of Red, I believe, is the 2 teams.
50-50 shots. Someone on this show finally wins the Guillotine League.
We'll see, man.
Made it past. I made it the longest first year.
Yeah, this is the longest I made it. Again, Guillotine League, every week someone gets chopped, the lowest score. So it's fun. It's strategy, some luck certainly involved, and yeah, we've had a great time. So we'll talk to Charch about all that coming up in just a little bit. You proposed something earlier today on the show, and I'll be honest, I don't think it's necessary.
Why? So you like watching these wide receivers? I don't want them to just draft a wide receiver. I want them to go get their Julio Jones.
So you proposed that the Chiefs made their Julio Jones trade. That's in reference to when the Falcons just traded multiple draft picks and moved up to 12, I think it was, to draft Julio Jones. Obviously, the Chiefs need to draft a wide receiver. Nobody is suggesting they don't. Multiple wide receivers, as a matter of fact. And here's why I disagree with your point that they need to go do that kind of trade where they go up to pick 12 or pick 10. There's a couple reasons. Number one, I truly don't believe it's realistic. Why I say that is most likely
they might not have enough ammunition.
That's a big part of it. That's where
that's an issue.
So that's my first point. that there's a very good chance the Chiefs are drafting, I'll call it pick 26 or later, even though 5 years, right? But I'll call it pick 26 or later. Can they trade up from 26 to 20 or a 19? Yeah, we've seen them do. Deep wide receiver class, so much that we could see a record 8 wide receivers taken. Now, I want Odunze from Washington, and he's probably not there at 20 even. So I'll hear you. I would love for them to get him. But if it's such a deep wide receiver room, and the Chiefs, let's say, are picking 30. I won't even say 32, but 30. I don't know if you need to trade up all that much if it's that deep of a wide receiver class. So that's kind of why I totally disagree. They don't need to trade away 3 or 4 picks to get to 12.
Took 5 picks at the time it took to get Julio. Now, look, I think the math changed on it a little bit. Now, I don't think people pay quite that price that they were before. The draft chart would suggest it would take the first rounder for the following year, which is not surprising. You and I both know that, and that's what they did when they went to go get Orlando Brown Jr. I've never regretted those first-round picks that eventually ended in the Chiefs winning all of it and doing the thing. And I understand. I understand the fear to be like, why would you do that in a draft that is deep? Because if you are convinced that somebody is the step in there immediately, and I think there are 3 of them probably realistically in this draft. You can't get to Marvin Harrison Jr. because that's getting a 3.
Yeah.
Okay? That's just...
Brock Bowers, also a tight end. Like, he might go 9,
If
8.
you wanted to go that route, I think part of the reason they had to pay for Julio Jones at the time is because there were only 2 wide receivers taken in that first round. I do not think it would take that price tag to move ahead because there are going to be some teams that aren't afraid to let you move ahead because of the depth at the position. But just sitting back at wide receiver, I got to be honest, a little tired of it. Maybe that Rashee Rice is starting to work, but the previous 2 examples stunk. They traded a 3rd rounder for Kadarius Toney. That's not working out. It's just like waiting back and laying in the weeds and seeing if and thinking that same draft with Julio Jones, I believe that was the Jonathan Baldwin draft. See if Jonathan Baldwin's there at 24 doesn't excite me. I want you to get the weapon that is, I think it's worth it because
you can't draft guys
it's going to be
off
your
of-
wide receiver for
Yeah.
10 years.
Yeah,
That's why it's worth it. He's your guy for 10 damn years. You get a player for 10 years for it, I almost don't care what the draft pick compensation is.
I hear you. I would say that as fans, the excitement part is critical, but I don't think as a GM, you don't draft somebody based off of, you just said you want someone that's going to excite you.
No, I mean, specifically, I just want a number one weapon
you don't draft
who was
off
number
of
one from
who's
the
gonna
day they're drafted.
Like you don't draft based on who the public thinks is exciting or not.
No, but if
that'll
they
also get you in trouble. Look, they clearly got to go get a wide receiver in the draft. It also is going to depend on what they do in free agency. If they
like
do
T.
go
Higgins,
sign
we're
a
having a
T.
different
Higgins,
conversation,
maybe
yeah.
it changes it. I just think it's deep enough where there's no reason to trade multiple draft picks to get to where you think they maybe need to get. If they're picking 30th. Can they get to 22 or 23? Maybe. And that might be, I think we don't know who eventually when they get to that draft process further, who's the one guy that they really fall in love with, and is he there at 23? And they're like, wow, we never thought he would be there at 23, and that's what causes them to go trade up. It's like what happened with McDuffie. They never thought McDuffie was going to be there at 21. They said, oh, we got to go get our guy. And boy, what a hell of a pick that has turned out to be.
Normally, that's a good thing going to get your player.
The range for what you want, Cody, is anywhere from 8 to like 14.
Yeah, that's probably
because there's some that have Bowers at 13 or 14, others that have Bowers at 8. There's some that have a Dunze at like 13, and then others that have a Dunze in the top 10. So 8 to 13 is where you're wanting to be at.
In fairness, this could lose in the wild card round.
If they have picked 25
if they lose in the wild card round, we're having a slightly different conversation about moving from 25 to 15, aren't we?
Absolutely.
If a Dunze all of a sudden is available at 14, now all of a sudden you're interested, aren't you?
Correct. But I think it's
Making the move
foolish
forward.
if you're telling me it takes 3 or 4 picks to move up. And not something I want to do. Not something I want to do whatsoever.
Look, I don't think they can go from they win the Super Bowl at 32 and then they got to move up. Also, by the way, if they win the Super Bowl, then do we really even? I mean, yeah, they need a wide receiver, but do we care that much?
I'm not
right?
anti.
Do we need it that bad?
I'm not anti trading up. It's just that I don't think they have to trade up to the extent that you're suggesting. If we all are being told that it's one of the deepest wide receiver classes, and that the guy that you draft 5th the gap difference between the 5th receiver and the 7th may not be much. Of course, out of the 8 guys, I'm not telling you all 8 are going to be superstars. That's not the discussion we're having here.
Some will be busts.
Of course, happens every single year. But on paper heading in, the experts are saying that the guy that's drafted 4th and the guy that's drafted 7th, not much of a difference. Is there a difference between Marvin Harrison Jr. and the 8th guy? No kidding, obviously.
So some of it is this. The exact conversation you're having here, which is I've spent an entire lifetime watching the Chiefs.
54 years, man.
It doesn't matter. I've spent fine. I've spent an entire lifetime, as of other people who are even older than me, watching the Chiefs never sink a legitimate investment into wide receiver and instead lay back into the late first round,
and that's got
into
them,
the second round,
and that sucks. It's
into
got
the third round.
5 AFC title games hosted and 2 Super Bowls in the last decade.
I'm greedier than that.
And the best quarterback in football. It's really been terrible.
Now I'm talking about an entire history of Chiefs fandom, and I understand that you're saying, hey, it only really matters for this most recent one where you have Patrick Mahomes and you can do it. The other part of the equation that scares me is if they wade into the second round where these guys are deep, maybe they get it right again. Maybe they find their Rashee Rice, but they got just as good of a chance of finding their McCole Hardman or Sky Moore, and we're back into this same issue. My problem is, then they're also going to slow walk him. So if they're not doing that and signing a good free agent wide receiver, then I'm right back to the same thing where I'm like, why aren't you playing the best player the entire year? And we got to drag our feet.
But you're already assuming you're going to be disappointed. You're already assuming you're going to be disappointed.
I've been disappointed by wide receiver a lot by this organization.
With the free agency.
Also, by the way, I'm not sure about the free agency. I'm not sure if they're going to spend their money there or not.
I understand you mentioned the history of lack of development at the wide receiver position.
It's not been great.
But I'll be honest, man. What happened in and what he was doing with the draft, and now what Brett Veach is doing in 2023. They're not connected whatsoever. I hate that. We do this a time. I'm guilty of it as well.
Are you sure that didn't matter for quarterback? When they didn't take a quarterback in the first round for a billion years?
It's not connected.
Those are related. If you never take a quarterback in the high round, there's a reason why. You spent a lifetime of averageness, and then you finally go up and take a quarterback in the first round, you matter.
What I mean by they're not connected, Cody, is what Carl Peterson did. Let's just use this example again. In 1997, John Dorsey didn't say, I can't draft a quarterback because Carl Peterson didn't do it in 1997.
No,
means nothing. How organizations acted in 1995 and who was in charge then is not the same as who's in charge 25 years later.
No, but if you only take second-round wide receivers, your odds of finding a hit are so much less than if you take
You're
them
changing the subject,
with higher
though.
draft. That's what I'm talking about.
I'm telling you not to trade up. Doesn't mean I'm not telling you to draft a wide receiver in the first round, man.
No, but
it's about ultimately what this conversation is about is getting the pick right. It doesn't matter. Rashee Rice, by the way, second-round pick. Nobody's complaining and bitching about that pick anymore, but nobody wanted him to wait till the second round to draft one this past year.
No, God, no. And I still... Well, obviously, now we're fine with the pick.
I just don't. We do this in all. Obviously, the baseball's different, so we bring it up with the Royals a lot. But how a general manager 20 years ago that's not in charge anymore does not enter the thought process for Brett Veach.
That's not the argument I'm making. The argument I'm making is how you've drafted in your history does have an impact about where you guys are, why. The fact that all the Pittsburgh Steelers ever do for the last 40 years is take defensive linemen is why they've had a higher success rate of defensive linemen. And the reason why
but they didn't hire
quarterbacks found... No, they didn't. But
they didn't hire a GM and say, hey, by the way, before we take this job, you're required to draft defensive linemen.
I'm not saying that. It's just been the way it's been. But I'm also saying, if you spend 30 years not taking a quarterback in the first round, it's not a shock to me that it took you this long to find the franchise guy.
Well, sure.
I feel that way about wide receiver. The Chiefs have, in their history, 3 probably good wide receivers. And the reason why they only have 3 good wide receivers is because they've been taking them between the 3rd and the 5th round for 50 years. Turns out if you'd been taking them in the first round this whole time, great. Wide receivers during the stretch. So sometimes you have to take the risk. That's the point of this conversation is when is the risk worth it? To me, the risk might be worth it now. The risk might be worth going up in the first round and selecting one of those guys and taking the chance.
I just think
because now it feels like it's worth it.
If you're desperate at wide receiver in a year where there's only 3 that are viewed as first rounders, that's the year to trade up. Not the year where there's 8 of them. This, to me, is the exact opposite year for what you're saying. What you're saying maybe would have been more valid a year or 2 ago when the crop of wide receivers was viewed as thinner. Not in a year where there might be 8 first-rounders that people think are legit first-rounders.
We could see this be like a draft. I know that they have
they're saying
less picks, but you instead of trading up to take the one guy, you get 3 wide receivers in this draft. If you go somewhere else in free agency and hope that 2 of them out of the 3 hit, given that it's a deeper class. You want to do all 32?
Let's get to it.
All 32.
All right, so I saw Troy Vincent, who at the league meetings, he also brought up the rule that they might view fumbling it out of the end zone, right? They're going to review that. He also said something about kickoffs. He said, it's basically a ceremonial play now. And he's 100% right, by the way. 100% right. I've changed my tune on this. I used to say, no, keep the kickoffs. He's right. It's a waste of our time. Here's the kickoff. 90% of them, I think it's even higher than that, are touchbacks. It's a ceremonial play now. Just get rid of kickoffs. I'm done with them. Just get rid of them.
You're done?
Just get rid of them.
The Chiefs have started to call fair catch on them.
Just put the ball at the 20?
Just put it at the 25. Just done.
Right.
Done with it. He's right. It's a ceremonial play. We're wasting our time.
You don't want that as a backup option for the safety play at the end of the game?
Nope. No,
because
onside kicks aren't happening anymore because they made the rules different for safety reasons, so those are a waste of time. Give them the opportunity to go for a 4th and 20 like has been proposed before in the XFL. Yeah, kickoffs used to be one of the most exciting plays.
Okay, so it's not
They made
as bad
it to where
as,
it's not exciting anymore.
So it's not as bad as you think. Last year, league-wide, kickoffs were fair caught 59% of the time. This time, they are fair caught 78% of the time. So we've seen a
They're a waste of time.
massive increase. Actually, the Chiefs are the 3rd highest rate of team kickoff touchback percentage in the entire NFL. So I get the idea, but I still like it as a safety net. Unless they're going to give me the onside kick alternative, I kick like one big play late in the game where I can still do something cool.
Yeah, less than 20% of kicks are even being returned. It's just a waste of time.
I know, but I'll give it a shot. I'll give it a shot. I
What do
understand
you
your
got?
notion with it. It doesn't do much, but at least it gives me something. I've gone back and forth a lot this year on who it is that should be NFL Coach of the Year, and I didn't want to look at the odds for a minute before I tried to make a decision. And instead, I was honestly trying to evaluate it. Who has done the best job given their circumstances this year? And I've settled in on that it's Kevin Stefanski. Kevin Stefanski has had 3 different quarterbacks this year, including one who didn't even play particularly well in Deshaun Watson. They have somehow won 8 games, kept themselves in positioning in the AFC North better than some of the other teams across the board, and he's doing it with limited offensive ability. They've got some weapons there, certainly, but now they're rolling out 38-year-old Joe Flacco and winning football games. Stefanski, I thought, was one of those guys who was kind of on thin ice anyway because they might try to look to pair Deshaun Watson, whose contract they definitely can't get out of for years and years and years, somewhere else. Stefanski's kind of held the ship together, considering they handed him Deshaun Watson, which is a messy situation. Then he didn't even have him healthy enough to play. I'm not so sure Stefanski shouldn't just be Coach of the Year.
Yeah, this was a topic last night on that betting show. You can find the podcast, actually. I'm with you. His name got brought up. Shane Steichen and Stefanski are kind of the 2 hot names right now of value plays for Coach of the Year. I agree with everything you said. I mean, he's 12 to 1 or 14 to 1 for Coach of the Year. They've got a favorable schedule. They're doing it with backup quarterbacks, a guy off his couch in Joe Flacco, Nick Chubb, who got hurt during the season, on and on and on.
Best offensive player.
It's really impressive what he's done. He probably is the only Coach of the Year candidate that could not win his division. They could win out, still not win their division, and get it. Otherwise, I think you have to win your division probably to be Coach of the Year. That's why Dan Campbell's still the favorite. But yeah, I think Shane Steichen in Indianapolis and Kevin Stefanski should be getting a bigger look.
The lines have faltered a little bit too, which I think is helping that case, if you will. And in Houston, up in the air a little bit with D'Amico Ryans. I think Ben Roethlisberger is being a little bit grumpy here, so I don't know if you guys
Big
saw
Ben.
this.
Big Ben's never grumpy. He's the suckiest, right, Cole? Right?
That's right. That's right.
On his podcast of Footballin' with Ben Roethlisberger, he said he thinks the tradition, the Steelers' tradition, his former head coach.
Oh, no.
Said, quote, "You can't afford in the second half of games to burn silly timeouts and not have them late in the game. To me, that's bad coaching." He added, "There's some feel you have to have in those situations because timeouts can be so valuable, as we saw in the game. You got to give your guy a chance," meaning Chris Boswell had a chance to maybe kick a field goal. I like my chances in overtime because they scored a lot of their points early and had the momentum. But again, Ben Roethlisberger, you are the quarterback. You're dealing with a totally different situation here in which Kenny Pickett is, one, not playing, wasn't great in the first place. Mitchell Trubisky's there. I can see where he's coming from, but I don't